Thank you. We'll go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Your Honors, good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
This is a continuation of the public panel interview by the Judicial and Bar Council of candidates for the position of Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals, the Court of Tax Appeals, and the Sandigan Bayan. Before proceeding, let's have the centennial prayer for the courts.
Almighty God, we stand in your holy presence as our supreme judge. We humbly beseech you to bless and inspire us so that what we think, say, and do will be in accordance with your will. Enlighten our minds, strengthen our spirit, and fill our hearts with fraternal love, wisdom, and understanding, so that we can be effective channels of truth, justice, and peace. In our proceedings today, guide us in the path of righteousness for the fulfillment of your greater glory. Amen.
Your Honors, again, good morning.
Good morning.
The panel of interviewers this morning shall be the following. The Honorable Justice Jose Catrell Mendoza, Chairperson of the JBC Executive Committee and regular member representing the retired members of the Supreme Court. The Honorable Judge Toribio E. Ilaw Jr., regular member representing the private sector. The Honorable Justice Noel Jimenez Iham, regular member representing the Academe. And the Honorable Judge Franklin J. de Monteverde, regular member representing the Integrated Bar of the Philippines. Your Honors, the candidates for interview this morning are the following. Judge Mia Joy C. Oliares, Kawed, vying for the position of Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals. Judge Antonio M. Olivete, vying for the position of Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals, the Court of Tax Appeals, and the Sandigan Bayan. And Judge Jose Maria A. Kimboy, applicant for the position of Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals. May I request the candidates to please raise your right hand so that I can administer the oath. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this public panel interview by the Judicial and Bar Council?
I do.
Yes, I do.
So help you God. Thank you. Your Honors, the first to be interviewed this morning will be Judge Kawit. And the first to interview the candidate will be the Honorable Judge Franklin J. de Monteverde. Judge de Monteverde, sir.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Ed.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Judge Kawed.
Good morning, Your Honor.
How are you for this morning?
I'm fine, except that I'm nervous.
Don't be. Anyway, this is not your first time to apply for the appellate course, diba?
Yes, Your Honor.
In fact, we interviewed you the last year, no? In 2019.
I don't remember the year. Your
You
Honor.
don't remember? I remember interviewing you.
I remember the interviews, but I don't remember the year.
Okay. So, assuming that we interviewed you last year, has there been any changes in your credentials or PDS?
I think I just included 2 cases were involving a motion for extension to file petition for review, which
Let's go into that, no?
mhm.
First, there was a case filed against you by the RTC employees of Baguio City, but this was terminated already. However,
I didn't know about that, sir.
you did not know about that.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Is that the reason why it was not included in your PDS?
Definitely, sir, because I'm really not aware of that.
Okay, it's case number A 2019032501.
May I know the charge, sir, Your Honor?
Uh, well, it was filed by the RTC employees of Baguio City. Anyway, you did not disclose that in your PDS.
Because I was not aware of it, and I was not required to answer, sir,
Okay.
Your Honor.
Okay. Now, aside from this case, there were two others which are still pending. The first one was filed by a certain Maria Luisa Romilio on June 20 of 2019, docketed as CAGR SP number 161120. And the other one is a case filed by the PIDEA, docketed as case number 39098-R, filed on August 1 of 2019. Both of these cases are still pending. Any comment, Judge?
With respect to the case filed by PIDEA, Your Honor,
Yes.
the only thing I'm aware of is a motion for extension to file petition for certiorari. And
Okay.
after that, I never received anything. That's why the branch clerk of court of RTC Branch 61 issued a certification to the effect that um, there is no uh, nothing transpired after the filing of the motion for extension
There's a clearance issued in your favor?
by the branch clerk of court. It's a certification to the effect that it's only a motion for extension of time to file
Okay.
petition for certiorari, but the court never received any pleading or complaint after that.
Okay. How about the other one?
The other one, if I remember correctly, is it's pertaining to a motion for the issuance of a writ of execution, if I remember it correctly, sir.
Okay. But these cases, both of these cases are still pending, Judge. I would suggest that you follow these up because this may affect your application for the appellate court.
I will do that, Your Honor.
Okay.
And thank you for informing me about the PIDEA case because I never received any.
Oh. Two
Complaint.
cases. One was filed by PIDEA and the other one was filed by Maria Luisa Romilio.
Yes,
Okay.
Your Honor.
You were with the Philippine Mediation Center from 2006 to 2009?
Before I was appointed as a regional trial court judge, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. I think that was the first time that I met you because we were in sometime in 2007, or we were in Baguio to teach to train judges for the alternative dispute resolution.
Yeah, I was one of the
Yes, I
members
think
of the
that was the
first
first
batch.
time I met you.
First batch, sir.
Okay. Yes, yeah, first time. You are a member, you wrote that you are a member of the board of management of the Philippine Mental Health Association, Baguio chapter, Judge.
Yes, Your Honor.
How active has this association been at the time of the pandemic?
Well, the board has not been very active, but the in-house staff, the permanent employees of the PMH here are very active, especially because of the rise of incidents of depression and suicide.
Okay. So it has not been active at all.
No, we have been holding video conference meetings,
Uh,
but no face-to-face meetings. But the employees of the PMHA are very active despite the pandemic.
Judge, there's earlier I mentioned about the case filed against you by the RTC employees of Baguio City.
Yes, Your Honor.
How effective or what kind of a leader are you?
I would say that I'm a very fair leader, but I'm very strict.
Mhm.
Okay.
Would you say that that was the reason that the why the employees filed this case against you?
Maybe because, like I said, Your Honor, I don't know the nature of the complaint. This is the first time that I heard about that complaint, and
Okay.
I'm very strict, and I try to lead by example. Up to now, I'm still where I display my ID when I go there, and I expect them to do the same. I want them to be punctual and to be in in their work areas during work hours. And I also really insist on what's this filing leaves of applications for leave of absences because I suspected that there were a lot of employees who were going on leave without an application. And in fact, I think I wrote I three employees to explain why they were abroad without filing the necessary leave or having an authority to travel. And they hate me for that.
But there were times when you were emotionally attached to other people, so much so that the desire to help them was there in you. Am I correct?
Desire to help people.
To
My
help them.
desire my desire to help people is in my capacity as a judge, Your Honor.
How about in your personal capacity?
In my personal capacity, um, the desire to help is still there for as long as it
Okay.
does not involve any case. Because even with my family, I don't discuss my cases.
Okay. Now you mentioned that in your capacity as a judge, you had this desire to help. In what way?
By speedily disposing of the cases, but and without sacrificing, of course, evidence, and applying the correct law and procedure. As in, that's why I would say that I was able to really help the people because I only now have a docket of 55 as of the end of November, despite the fact that I was also the acting presiding judge of the drugs court for 3 years and 10 months.
But
And
in
I
your
brought,
desire to help them, Judge, there are also times that you become subjective in your considerations.
I don't think so, Your Honor.
You don't think so,
Yeah.
even if you want to help them.
Even if I want to help them, I have dismissed cases of people that I know. I have convicted people whom I personally know. My
Okay.
knowing them has nothing to do with my actions as a presiding judge.
Okay, let's go to the amendments to the rules of civil procedure. I'll ask you about two or three questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
If the defenses of a defendant were alleged in his answer, can the complainant file his reply?
If there is an actionable document attached to the answer, Your Honor.
Okay. So an actionable document was identified and attached as Annex 1 in the answer. The complainant did not file a reply. Is he correct?
Well, it depends. If he doesn't want to file a reply, then that's his choice. That will be deemed admitted, Your Honor.
What is the what is an actionable document and how can it be pleaded?
Actionable document. is a document that gives certain rights to a person, and it can be pleaded by an allegation in the pleading, and at the same time attaching the said document, or copying the reproducing by copying the document in the pleading itself.
Okay. And when can a rejoinder be filed?
A rejoinder be filed if the if the reply also attaches an actionable document.
Okay, Judge. Last question. You have been, all your judicial life, you have been stationed in Baguio City.
Yes, Your Honor.
Applying for the appellate court and assuming that you will be appointed, you will be away from your comfort zone, which is Baguio City. Will that affect you financially?
No, I don't know. No, Your Honor. It will not.
Why?
Why? Because
You have a house in Manila?
family, my family of origin, um, in Quezon City, because in fact studied I went to high school, college, and partially law school in Manila. In I resided in Quezon City, Your Honor, and whenever I go to the Metro Manila, I still have a house to go to in
Okay,
Quezon
Judge
City.
Kawed, that was my last question. Thank you for your time.
Thank
And
you too, Justice.
good luck. Good luck.
Thank you, Justice.
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge Monteverde.
Thank you, Attorney Ann.
May we now give the floor to Honorable Justice Noel Jimenez Tihan.
Thank you, Attorney Ann. Good morning, Judge
Good
Howard.
morning, Justice.
I have interviewed you in the past.
Yes, you did,
I
Justice.
don't know. I don't know what questions to ask you. Were you previously shortlisted already?
I have a pending shortlist now. I think I got shortlisted already for three times.
All right. I will just ask you a few questions as basis whether I should still include you in my shortlist or give a chance to others, because
Please do.
there are many aspirants for the appellate courts. You are handling a family court. What are the
Yes, Justice.
challenges? What are the challenges you face in the family court? Can you tell us?
Well, the challenges right now, oh, the cases are very what would you say? It's it can the challenges would be yung emotions, the especially custody cases, because the litigants are very emotional, and sometimes they expect the impossible, like cutting the child into two two halves.
The Solomonic
Yeah.
Solomonic
hmm
method of dispensing justice.
that's what they expect, and the challenges would say, Your Honor, that at this point in time, there are no very serious challenges. I have passed, I know what's this, passed through that stage already.
You joined the judiciary at a relatively matured age already.
Yes, Your
Because,
Justice.
you joined the judiciary in 2011. You're
I
now
was,
54 years old, correct? So
yes, Justice.
you spend a lot of time in private practice.
I think that was 18 years.
All right, let's talk about. Uh, are you still an ethical magistrate, Your Honor?
Definitely. Even more ethical.
All right, let's talk about the Christmas season. there's a no gift policy during Christmas. When do you consider, in your opinion, when do you consider a gift a bribe that will be proscribed by the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act?
Any gift for me should not be accepted, Your Honor.
Supposing, theoretically, I were to undergo an operation and you heard about it and you offered blood for my surgery, will that constitute a bribe that is prohibited by the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act?
Do I have a pending case before you?
You are an applicant with the
Uh,
JBC,
um, in the first place, I'm disqualified from donating.
but
But
theoretically, for
theoretically,
purposes of academic discussion,
mm, if I were the last person to save your life, Justice, there's no other person who
so you
can
think
do that.
that will not be proscribed, that will not be prohibited by the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. Offering blood.
Mhm. For me, like I said, I will donate, but if I were the only person qualified to do that,
What about giving token gifts during Christmas, like vitamins, a face mask, a face shield to the members of the JBC? Will that be covered by the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, in your opinion?
in my opinion, there wouldn't even be a situation for me, from my point of view, that I have to give a face mask because
So you will
this,
decline. You will decline.
yeah,
Supposing the JBC members went up to Baguio for an official meeting, and we were supposed to go down to Manila, but for some reason, uh, our vehicle, our transport bogged down. If you offer transport to the members of the JBC to bring us back to Manila, will that be prohibited as well under the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act?
I don't think it's prohibited, but I won't do it.
You won't do it. All
Yes, Your
right.
Honor.
What do you understand, Judge, by birthright citizenship
Birthright citizenship.
under American laws? That should give you an insight already.
Birthright citizenship. I'm not quite sure of my answer, but
You can make
you
an
get you can I can make a guess. Justice. It's you acquire the citizenship by virtue of being born in that place.
That's correct. All right. Supposing the spouse of the Philippine ambassador in the United States gives birth in the United States, will the child be considered an American citizen under U.S. laws? Do
Yes,
you
yes, Justice.
you're sure about that?
Yes, Justice. That's why they go. Filipinos go abroad to give birth.
No, but I'm talking of the child, the
Ah,
infant of
born.
the ambassador, the Philippine ambassador to the United States. If the spouse of the Philippine ambassador gives birth, let's say in San Francisco or in Washington, D.C., will the child be considered an American citizen under U.S. laws?
Yes, if the child was not born within the premises of the uh, embassy or the consular office.
But isn't it that ambassadors they enjoy diplomatic immunity?
It has nothing to do with immunity, Your Justice.
All right, you just research on the meaning of birthright citizenship.
Yes, I
Now,
will. Thank you.
there was a news report that Maria Ressa of Rappler, who was convicted of cyber libel, but her conviction is on appeal. was granted by the trial court judge permission to travel to the United States to visit her relatives. Assuming for the sake of argument, only for purposes of academic discussion, assuming that Maria Ressa goes to the United States and after the holiday season decides not to come back to the Philippines to face the cases before Philippine courts, can the Philippines seek the extradition of Maria Ressa back to the Philippines?
I think we have an extradition treaty with the U.S. So yes, Justice.
Yes, we have an extradition treaty. So
Yes,
you think the Philippine government can ask for the
that's
extradition of Maria Ressa?
that's my position, Justice. That the Philippine government can ask for her
And what is
extradition
the reason for that?
because of the extradition treaty.
And she is also a Filipino citizen,
She's a
according to.
Filipino citizen. Yes, yes,
Can the
yes.
U.S. government refuse the extradition on the basis that she is also an American citizen?
So dual citizenship, Justice.
Yeah, she
She's a
has dual.
Filipino and she's also an American citizen. Well, the Philippines cannot insist on the
Can we
extradition.
force the U.S. to
I don't think.
extradite Maria Ressa here?
I don't think so, Your Honor.
You don't think so? All right. All right, Judge Cavite, that's my last my last question. Okay, thank you for your time and good luck.
Thank you to your Justice.
Thank you very much, Your Honor, Justice Tiham. May we now turn over the interview of Honorable Judge Kawed to Honorable Judge Toribio E. Ilao Jr.
Thank you, Attorney Ann. Yes, good morning,
Good morning,
Judge
Justice.
Kawit.
Good
Because
morning, Your Honor.
we have also a judge not Kawit but Pawid, also from the north.
From that's Judge Vilma.
Vilma
Vilma Pawi.
Pawid. Yes, so we meet again. Don't forget, I had the 3 times you forgot to be interviewed last year, but I remember that we interviewed you and you were previously nominated to Court of Appeals in 2018 and Sandigan Bayan 2017. And you said you still have a pending.
Yes, I was nominated January 2020, January of this year.
And
Your
don't make it a
Honor.
habit of forgetting everything, Judge. But you don't forget yourself now.
No, no.
That's just joke. Just a joke.
Because the dates to me are,
The
I
day.
consider them irrelevant. I mean, the dates when I was shortlisted.
But in terms of money, you don't forget. Yan, talagang pagpera, hindi nakakalimutan, Judge.
I'm not very particular with money.
Okay. Alright, you will be 65 years old by next year. That is January 12th.
January, yes,
Should you
yes, Your
be
Honor.
again nominated and appointed to the appellate court, do you think you have enough time left to make a substantial contribution to the Court of Appeals you're applying?
Yes, Your Honor, 5 years is a long time to do so many things.
Okay, and you've been a mediator for 3 years, retained counsel for the SWD car for 11 years, private practice for 18 years,
Yes, Your Honor.
and retained counsel for PESA, Baguio City for 4 years.
Yes, Your Honor.
Also legal aid lawyer for IBP National for 4 years. So more or less a private sector for 7 years and I've been teaching for 6 years only. I will not retired judge, are you not contemplating of availing the early retirement, just like one of the magistrates who
Um,
made a pronouncement?
as of now, Your Honor, I'm not yet qualified for early retirement because I
Hmm?
have been in the service only for 11 years. 11, 11 years last August. So, I will be eligible, I think, when I will be 67, 68 years old. So, but I do not have intentions of uh, availing of such when the time comes that I'm
You
qualified.
still have to wait for a compulsory retirement.
That's my plan because I enjoy what I'm doing.
Okay, hopefully. And so I mentioned that you were a former mediator in the Philippine Mediation Center
Yes,
and
Your
counsel
Honor.
for counsel of the PESA and the SWD. But I
Yes,
don't
Your
know
Honor.
whether it's been asked by colleagues. You did not state this in your service record. Am I correct?
I it's there in I because I was not a government employee that time, Your Honor. DSWD was my client and PESA was my client too in my capacity as a
Mm,
private practitioner. I was not an employee of DSWD and I was not an employee of PESA.
all right. By this time, how have you better prepared yourself for promotion?
By doing my job the right way, following the law and procedure, and appreciating evidence. I have been conducting hearings for the last for 3 years and 10 months in two courts daily, morning and afternoon. I've been reading not only my cases, but cases decided by the Supreme Court. And I've been preparing myself physically. I jog every morning to make sure that I'm healthy. And I do yoga every day also to distress because distress sessions with psychiatrists are quite expensive. So I just do it by exercising. That's the preparation that has been added because in my earlier years I wasn't doing these things, Your Honor. So they joke, my colleagues would joke me that I'm the only one who did not gain weight during the pandemic
Yeah.
because I jog every morning and I do yoga. And that's a
Yes.
preparation for me. When doing that, my mind is clear. I am not temperamental.
I good to hear that pain or pressure release yoga.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, it's really
I know
very
it also,
healthy.
but I'm not yet a guru.
But I do moving yoga, Your Honor. Moving
Mm,
yoga,
moving yoga.
not
You
the
can
not the sitting yoga.
you can lift yourself.
I do anti-gravity yoga. I do the inversions,
Oh,
hanging.
good.
I do that.
All right. Congratulations. All right. It's a record that there is a pending case filed by a certain Maria Luisa Romilio against you for alleged wrongful execution order, allegedly, which was not based on the value of the decision. My question is, what is the basis of an order of execution? The value
Uh,
or the value of the decision? This is a decided
the
case.
okay. The value was very um, the value, but you have to take into consideration the body of the decision. If I'm not, like for example, a decision wherein it's for the cancellation of the title and for the issuance of of a new title in the name of the plaintiff, but the value did not state there that the defendant should surrender the title to the register of deeds or to the court. So the Register of Deeds was requiring the surrender of the title to be cancelled so that a new one will be issued in favor of the plaintiff. So, but if you go over the body of the decision, uh, you it that is discussed, but unfortunately, the fallo did not say that the defendant should what's this surrender the title.
So, what's the rule? If there is a conflict between the dispositive portion or the value of the decision and the opinion of the court contained in the text or body of the judgment, which will prevail?
The fallo.
All right, let's go to another subject. You're applying only for as an associate justice of the Court of Appeals this time.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. What are the two kinds of repeal by implication?
Repeal by implication. Hmm. Repeal of a law, of course.
Yes, please.
Repeal by implication is when there's a subsequent law that is enacted that is contrary to the provisions of the uh, prior law. So that would be an implied repeal.
Let's go to the basic or the general principle. What is the doctrine of judicial stability?
Doctrine of judicial stability, it has something to do with um, what's this? At a certain point in time, a case should be terminated, and that it has also something to do with precedence. So, the court, unless there are circumstances that would make it rule otherwise, should rule on a case in the same manner that it ruled in a case with similar uh, facts.
Can the judgment of a court of competent jurisdiction be interfered by another court of concurrent jurisdiction?
Mm, concurrent jurisdiction, like in a
That's the very definition of the doctrine
of
judicial stability.
stability. No, concurrent jurisdiction, I don't think so. In the same manner that co-equal courts uh, cannot reverse.
What is your court, Sala? Is it? Okay, thank you. All right, what is your court? A court, a regular court or a special court?
It's a family court.
Family
A
court.
designated family court, not a statutory one.
So deals with minors, everything that's. Does the enjoyment of a minor of his her constitutional rights coextensive as that of an adult?
More extensive. He has more rights. A child appears to have more rights than an adult because there are special laws to promote the best interest of the child.
All right, Judge. If you were 80 years old, what would you tell your children?
To live an upright life, continue living an upright life, to be persons of integrity, to share what they can share to the community, to be always honest, and to rear their children, my grandchildren, to be
Grandchildren.
upright
How
like
many,
me.
how
But
many
I don't have
grandchildren?
I don't have
Ay,
grandchildren.
not yet. But how many children do you have?
I have three, Your Honor. They are of
Still,
marrying age, but I don't know why they're not getting married.
still enjoying life.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Would you rather lose all of your old memories or never be able to make new ones?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Mm.
Well,
Old memories or make new memories. The old ones I have already enjoyed, treasure, experience. Then maybe it would be nice to have to to enjoy new memories. If I cannot have them both.
all right. My last question, Judge. What in your personal life causes you the most stress?
My personal life causes me the most stress. The fear, the fear that something wrong might happen to my children, something bad, like figure in an accident, getting sick. That's really what what uh, what what is makes me in fact frightened sometimes, that when they're not when they're not getting in touch with me, when they're not home, when they say they will be home at that time, I get fearful that something happened to them.
Contrary-wise, what gives you most pleasure?
When everybody in the family is healthy, there's no dispute, there's no fighting, and we have 3 square meals a day, and a little something for in case of emergency like hospitalization, but I'm praying very hard not for that, for good health.
All right. Thank you very much, Judge. Till we
Thank you.
meet again, maybe you're taking an oath or what, maybe.
I
Like
thank
just
you.
good luck.
And
Good luck po.
thank you, Your
Regards
Honor.
sa Baguio. Nasa news na naman ata Baguio City ngayon. No?
Always in
Medyo,
the news, Your Honor.
how's your mayor Magalong?
Well, he's very active.
All right. Thank you again and good luck again.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good
Thank
morning.
you so much, Your Honor, Judge Ilaw. The last to interview Honorable Judge Kawed is Honorable Justice Jose Catrell Mendoza.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Justice.
Yes, we have met many times already, interviewed you many times. So, and my other questions were already asked by my colleagues. So I'll just go directly. You are aspiring for the position of Associate Justice of Court of Appeals only, right?
Yes, Justice.
Yes. Can you give me the three instances or categories where the Court of Appeals may receive oh, evidence? Because usually the Court of Appeals does not conduct hearing, they just review the records. There are three instances mentioned in the or categories mentioned in the internal rules of the Court of Appeals. What are they?
When the Court of Appeals grants a motion for uh, new trial based on newly discovered evidence,
Yes,
uh,
one.
the one, and when there are factual issues that where the Court of Appeals, um, for the
Not all
court,
factual issues. When do they receive evidence?
I beg your pardon, sir. Yes, Your Justice.
Yes, usually the factual issues is too general. What are the instances when the Court of Appeals allow um, the presentation of evidence? One, you are correct. Uh, where there is ground or newly discovered evidence. So you have covered two already. That's in civil cases and criminal cases. Oh, what is the other instance?
The third. Um, Now I'm having a mental block.
Yeah, okay lang. Anyway, in
Oh,
cases where the Court of Appeals have
the
original,
original jurisdiction.
yes, original,
Original jurisdiction like in co warranto
yes,
and prohibition.
yes, okay, good. Now, in what, uh, in what petition uh, does the Court of Appeals have, or in what action or remedies the Court of Appeals have uh, exclusive original jurisdiction?
The annulment of judgments or final orders of the regional trial court, Justice.
Okay, on what grounds?
Uh, extrinsic extrinsic fraud and lack of jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you. Uh, what is the rule on immutability?
Allah.
Judge?
Um, Justice, I'm trying to recall or phrase it. Uh, Immutability of decision, I think. I'm so scared of you, Justice. I'm having a mental blank.
It's the same, conclusiveness of
Of
judgment.
judgment.
Okay, what is the difference between or relationship between conclusiveness of judgment and res judicata?
Oh, conclusiveness of judgment.
Yes, yes.
In res judicata, there is a prior case and a subsequent case is filed involving the same parties and issues. So res judicata would be a ground for the dismissal of the subsequent case. Whereas
Conclusiveness of judgment.
conclusiveness of
Yes.
judgment is once it becomes final. You can no longer change it.
Okay, res judicata has two aspects. One is conclusiveness of judgment. What is the other one?
Uh, Jurisdiction.
No, the second one, first one is conclusiveness of judgment.
Yes.
The other one is
Res
bar by prior judgment.
judicata.
Oh. Hmm. About labor, how are you on
Oh,
labor?
I'm bad with labor. I
Yeah.
I never hand I what's this intentionally did not want to handle labor cases when I was in private practice. But
30% of cases
uh,
are labor cases. In the Court of Appeals, almost 30 to 40% are.
I what's this? I did not, I do understand the basic principles of labor, but I if given the choice, like when I was in private practice, I did not like to handle them
I
because even
agree.
if you even if I win the case, uh, well, the, but it's not really a complete win because even if the employer wins, there will always be what's this? It's as if he still loses.
Mm.
So I did not want
so I'll
to
go to
handle.
the basic.
Mm.
What is the test to determine employer-employee? If you know only.
Mm. Employer-employee. Of course, the employee works for the employer, and that if there is a contract, definitely
There
he
is
is an employee.
what is the test if there is no contract?
That the job being done by the employee is necessary, needed in the business of the employer.
Refers to regular employees or contractual employees.
Employees.
It is the control test. But there is still another one, economic reality test. Have you heard of it?
No, Justice.
Oh, nah. We'll exit labor. Of course, we go to sum of money.
Sum of
What is
money.
forbearance? Forbearance of money. What is
For,
forbearance?
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer.
I forgot.
I don't know the answer. Yeah. It's not that I forgot. I don't know the answer. I was more into criminal law.
Oh, well, anyway, that will be all, Judge.
Mm.
I have asked you a lot of questions before, so you're excused now.
Thank you, Justice.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry I was not able to
Okay
answer
lang.
all your questions.
There's so many factors naman, not only the interview. In when we evaluate your fitness. Oh,
Mm.
thank you very much, Judge.
Thank you too, Justice. Good morning.
Thank you so much, Honorable Justice Mendoza. That brings to a close the public panel interview of Honorable Mia Joy C. Ovalyares Kawit. Thank you and we bid you good luck, Judge Kawit. Your
Thank you too.
honors, to be interviewed next is Honorable Judge Antonio M. Olivite. He is the presiding judge of the Regional Trial Court Branch 267, Taguig City. He is an aspirant of for the position of Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals of the Sandigan Bayan. Good morning, Your Honor, Judge Olivete. The first to ask you questions is Honorable Judge Franklin J. de Monteverde.
Jenny Ann, thank you.
Welcome, Your Honor.
Judge Olivete. Judge Olivete.
Judge,
Judge Olivete, good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor.
I can see you.
My main computer is not working.
So how can I interview you without seeing you?
Judge
Okay.
Olivete, we will switch up. Your Honor, with your permission po, I will fix Judge Olivete's main device. We can use your secondary device, Judge.
Yes, I am now looking at the secondary device.
Yes, Judge. Can you just...
While, would it be possible if my branch clerk of court could fix the main computer, Your Honor?
It's, Your Honor, Judge Monteverde, okay na po ito sa inyo. We can use his secondary device instead.
Okay lang, Leia. Okay lang.
Okay po, Judge. Judge Olivete, okay naman po yung secondary device niyo. So, we will just use this instead of your main device. So, the Honorable Judge de Monteverde can start the interview.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning po.
Yeah, okay. You are applying for a seat in any of the 3 appellate courts?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, but in 2019, we interviewed you for the CTA post. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor, but unfortunately, I was not included in the short list.
Okay. Now, from your last interview, has there been any changes in your PDS or credentials up to today?
There has been none, Your Honor.
None. Okay. You are now the presiding judge of Branch 267 in Taguig.
Yes, Your Honor, and
And-
at the same time, I'm
Okay.
the executive judge, Your Honor.
Okay. And for how long have you been there, Judge?
I was appointed as RTC judge in my court, my present court, in 2009, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, you took up your Bachelor of Laws at the University of the East. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And when did you graduate?
I graduated, Your Honor, in the year 1982.
82. And when did you pass the bar?
I passed the bar in nine, in 1982, if I remember it right, uh, because I took my oath in 1984, Your Honor, because I did not make it the first time around.
Okay. Why? What happened?
I missed the cut, so to speak, Your Honor, by a point 22, Your Honor.
Okay.
So
You know, Judge, one of our criteria, the JBC rules as prescribed, is that we give preference or priorities to first-timers, those who pass the bar on his first try. Now, for those who took
I
it
hope
twice or thrice, this can be offset by credentials earned professionally or during your academic years. Can you cite any credentials that you earned during your stint with the government?
I can only say, Your Honor, that at one time I was a regular guest in a radio program that gives legal advice, Your Honor, to the listeners of DWIC.
Mhm.
And at one time, I gave a lecture that was even covered by a solar. The network was solar, Your Honor. And I was told that the lecture that I gave was being broadcasted to different barangays, Your Honor.
Any other credentials aside from the two that you mentioned?
I would say, Your Honor, that I may not have the brightest credential, Your Honor, but I would like to bank on my record in the judiciary that I have never been the subject of any administrative complaint.
Okay.
Thing that I am ignorant of the law, Your Honor.
Were there not cases filed against you before?
There were, Your Honor, when I was a judge in the first level court, Your Honor, because during my time in Antipolo, it seems regular, Your Honor, that whenever a judge there would would grant a motion for execution, for example, or a motion for demolition, the comment there to that motion invariably include, Your Honor, a complaint against the judge, Your Honor.
Okay.
But none of these cases prospered, Your Honor.
Okay, Judge. Who is this Maria Teresa Olivete? She filed a case against you in 1992.
She is my former wife, Your Honor.
Former wife. Why? What
I,
case did she file against you? Bausi or what? Was Bausi in effect already the time? Not yet.
Not yet, Your Honor. That
Okay.
happened about 25 years ago, Your Honor.
Okay. So what case was that?
I am not really familiar, Your Honor, except that I filed my answer with the integrated bar. It happened.
Disbarment? Was it disbarment?
I would say so, Your Honor. But
On what ground did she file the case against you? On what basis? Immorality or what?
at that time, Your Honor, maybe because of a personal indiscretion that I may have committed during that time. But if I may, Your Honor, that complaint was filed after she divorced me and married an American, Your Honor.
Divorce you in the States?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because we don't have any divorce law here.
Yes, and only
And at that time that you had this indiscretion, you were still married to her legally under Philippine laws.
Yes, Your Honor. So,
Okay.
upon going to the U.S., she immediately divorced me and married an American, Your Honor.
So what happened to the case filed against you?
That was ultimately dismissed, Your Honor.
Okay. What about this case filed by a certain Evelyn Magay in 2002?
I have no knowledge about that, Your Honor.
No knowledge?
Except if that party, Your Honor, would have been one of the litigants in Antipolo. Because I remember, Your Honor, the bulk of
Evelyn Magay et al. So she could be one of those who filed a case against you.
in one of those cases that I presided and handed a decision in Antipolo. Maybe that complainant may have been one of them. But if I may again say, Your Honor, the Office of the Bar Complainant and the Office of the Court Administrator, Your Honor, none of these cases that was filed against me prospered, Your Honor. They were all dismissed.
Okay, duly noted, Judge. But why did you not include this in your PDS, these cases?
I do not know if there is a space there, Your Honor, that...
There is. You can use a separate sheet of paper.
My attention was not called, Your Honor. It was not deliberate, Your Honor.
Your attention was not called because the instruction was printed in the PDS on what to do. Anyway, let's go to your SAL-N, Judge. In 2016, your net worth was 12.5 million. Then it decreased to 6.6 million in 2007 or a year after. Can you tell us about this?
I have not been really very conscious about the figures that I write in the SAL-N, Your Honor, because I am...
Who prepares your SAL-N, Judge? Who prepares your SAL-N?
I prepare my own SAL-N, Your Honor.
Okay.
Confused a bit about the assessed value, the market value, Your Honor. I think I was able to adjust the correct amounts, Your Honor, later on.
Okay. Now, in 2018, a year after, your net worth was more or less, it reduced further to 4 million. Then increased to 7 million in 2019. It increased by 3 million. Where did the additional income come from?
There is actually no additional increase in the income, Your Honor, except that maybe the valuation regarding the real properties that I have, I was able to correct them.
Judge, you had filed your SAL-N from 2010 to 2019?
Yes, Your Honor. The requirement is 10 consecutive years, Your Honor.
Yes. And your wife, aside from not being a signatory to your PDS, also was not consistent in her signing the SAL-N.
What I remember, Your Honor, is that every time I submit the SAL-N, I ask her to sign the SAL-N as well.
But did she agree? to sign it at all times?
I think I have yet to, but the latest, Your Honor, I think she signed it, the 2018.
How did she sign? Because you said she divorced you in the States. Still, has she come back to the Philippines?
No, Your Honor. After my annulment of marriage, Your Honor, after I was divorced, I filed an annulment of marriage after 3
When
years.
was that? When was that?
In 2000, Your Honor.
2000. And when was your marriage declared a nullity?
In 1997, Your Honor.
90s. Huh?
I think, Your Honor, it was sometime in. What I remember is that after my wife divorced me.
When?
Sometime in
What year?
1997.
97, okay. Then you filed a petition to declare your marriage a nullity. When was it?
In the year 2000.
2000. And then
the decision, Your Honor, came out sometime in the year 2000. And it was even Judge Pison who wrote the decision.
Bilis? 1 year lang?
No, 3 years, Your Honor.
3 years, 1997 to 2000.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, sabi mo, your wife signed in the Salens. But
no, it is my present wife, Your Honor, who signs the
your second, my second wife ka na?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did you get married?
In the year 2000 also, Your Honor.
2000, okay.
After 3 years, Your Honor.
Is she also with the government service?
She is a practicing lawyer, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, Judge, have you received any death threats?
There was at one time, Your Honor, I received a death threat because I am presiding over a special court, Your Honor, that handles illegal drugs, Your Honor, Republic Act number 9165.
Okay.
It happened only once, Your Honor, but I was very apprehensive because it seemed that the threat was real during that time. But I'm very happy, Your Honor, that eventually that disappeared.
Okay, but at that time when you received the death threats, you became depressed, troubled, diba?
Yes, Your Honor, because I was forced to carry a gun in my car all the time, Your Honor. And I was very cautious that someone might assassinate me, surprise me with a burst of gunfire. So I was a little bit scared, Your Honor.
And because of that situation,
I was prepared because it was part of the
hazards of the trade.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And because of that situation or your condition, it definitely hampered your work energy and motivation, did it not?
Not so much, Your Honor. As I've said,
explain further, not so much.
I perform my job regularly, Your Honor. The output of my decisions remain the same, Your Honor. It was something that I have accepted that might happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, last two questions, Judge. One of management's principles is delegation of authority. How do you delegate your responsibilities to your court staff?
There is a division of labor, Your Honor, in my sala, in my court. Mm-hmm. About 3 of my staff handles the criminal cases. About 3 or 4 were stenographers. And I also I'm hands-on, so to speak, Your Honor, with regard to my dealings with my branch clerk of court. So whenever I see something that needs to be corrected, I call the attention of my branch clerk of court.
So with that relationship, I would assume that you did encourage the employees to further hone their talents and professional career.
Yes,
Is that
Your Honor.
correct, Judge?
Yes, Your Honor. There is even, Your Honor, a note that I post every time encouraging them about giving their best, Your Honor, in their assigned task as employees of the court.
Okay, Judge. That was my last question. Thank you for your time and good luck.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Judge de
Thank you,
Monteverde.
Attorney Ann.
Now is the turn of Honorable Justice Noel Jimenez Tiham to interview Honorable Judge Olivrete.
Thank you, Attorney Ann. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Justice.
Have we interviewed you before, or is
Yes,
this your first time?
yes, Your Honor. I have submitted myself to an interview with the JBC, I think last year, Your Honor.
Yeah, I remember. Now,
Yes.
Judge, can you explain to me your understanding of the doctrine of constitutional supremacy?
The Constitution, Your Honor, is the basic law of the land. It's a fundamental law, Your Honor, upon which all laws has to conform. If any initiative, Your Honor, does not conform with the Constitution, then that initiative, Your Honor, is struck down, stricken off from the record, and rendered unconstitutional, Your Honor. So all laws has to conform with the Constitution because it's the supreme law of the land.
Is the president and the executive department above the Constitution?
No, Your Honor.
Is
Their action,
Congress above the Constitution?
no, Your Honor. All their actions, Your Honor, has to conform to the dictates of the Constitution, to the mandate of the Constitution, Your Honor.
Is the judiciary above the Constitution?
I would say also no, Your Honor.
When the judiciary interprets the Constitution, is the judiciary asserting supremacy over the two other departments of government?
I don't think so, Your Honor, because the action of the judiciary will always conform to the mandate of the Constitution and the law.
During the period of pandemic, is the Constitution suspended?
No, Your Honor. In fact,
What
Your
about
Honor,
Constitution? Yes, continue.
in fact, Your Honor, I would say that the Bayanihan laws, Your Honor, to recover, to heal as one act and to recover as one act, they were enacted, Your Honor, pursuant to the mandate of the Constitution.
So during the period of pandemic, constitutional rights continue to be enforced and protected.
Yes, Your Honor.
So even with the advent of the anti-terror law, even if there is a pandemic, it does not prevent the citizens from asserting their constitutional rights, correct?
No, Your Honor.
What about constitutional obligations? Are they also suspended during a pandemic?
I don't think so, Your Honor.
Who has the obligation to conduct an investigation on an impeachment complaint?
I would say it is the House of Representatives, Your Honor. It is from there where the impeachment complaint has to pass through, Your Honor.
That is a constitutional obligation of the House of Representatives, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So if there is an impeachment complaint, it is incumbent upon the House of Representatives to ascertain whether there is basis for the impeachment complaint. If there is no basis, to dismiss the impeachment complaint, correct?
Yes,
And
Your Honor.
if there is basis to investigate and look into the evidence, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And to file the articles of impeachment with the Senate.
If
Correct?
the House of Representatives find that the merit to the impeachment complaint, that is what is going to happen, Your Honor.
So, the other day, a group of faculty members from the University of the Philippines wrote a letter or petitioned Congress not to waste their time on the impeachment complaint because they have better things to do, more important things to do during this pandemic. Do you think that was a correct move on the part of the faculty members?
I do not think, Your Honor, that the faculty members should be stopped from voicing their sentiment over a particular issue. It is their constitutional.
Is their position correct? That because of the pandemic, the impeachment complaint should be set aside because there are more important legislative work ahead for the country.
No, Your Honor, because the pandemic is likewise a very important undertaking that the House of Representatives has to address.
And that constitutional obligation to ascertain whether there is basis for the impeachment complaint is something that cannot be set aside.
Yes, Your Honor. I believe
All
so,
right.
Your Honor.
What about restrictions imposed by government? The health protocols imposed by the IATF on churches, are these valid and constitutional in your opinion?
I would say, Your Honor, that these initiatives are valid, Your Honor, in the exercise of the police power of the state, Your Honor. And this police power is enshrined in the Constitution as well.
What is your understanding, Judge, of the general welfare clause in the Constitution?
I would believe, Your Honor, that this general welfare clause should be interpreted to mean as benefiting, Your Honor, the people in a particular country. All of us, Your Honor, Filipinos, has to be benefited. The Constitution, the welfare of the Filipinos, Your Honor, is protected by the Constitution through that welfare clause, Your Honor.
What is your understanding of an electoral fraud? What is an electoral fraud?
To my mind, Your Honor, it is just as simple as the commission of a fraud, Your Honor, during the election, Your Honor, where the voters, the vote of the voters are supplanted, Your Honor, thus defeating the disenfranchising, Your Honor, the actual voters who should have voted favor of a particular candidate, Your Honor.
Continue, please.
Although it seemed to me that the voting nowadays is already computerized, Your Honor, the commission of fraud, Your Honor, is still possible.
With the advent of computerized voting, wherein the tabulation, the evaluation, the recording of the election results is done by computers inside the voting booth, correct? My question is, in your opinion, is delegating this responsibility to a computer constitutional? It may be legal because there's a law, but is it constitutional?
The computer is but just a machine, Your Honor, that is being operated, Your Honor, by people who were duly authorized to operate the same. So I think it's still constitutional, Your Honor.
It's still constitutional. All right. My last question, Judge, is what do you understand by racial profiling?
Uh, it
Or you can give an example. You can give me an example of racial profiling.
like for example, uh, I do not know, Your Honor, but you disappeared from the screen. I don't know if you can still hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you.
It is just like, Your Honor, a group of Chinese, for example, Your Honor, where these people are profiled in a way that their personal circumstances, for example, the place where they originated, uh, in the, not only Chinese, but I think even the United States, Your Honor, this racial profiling extends to the colored people, Your Honor. I don't know in
The
our country, you know.
the president of France, President Macron, in an interview said that in France, if the color of your skin is not white and you're not Caucasian, regrettably, you are most likely to be stopped by the police, by government officers, and asked for identification. So that is an example of racial profiling.
Yes,
In
Your
your
Honor.
opinion, is it valid and constitutional?
I would say, Your Honor, that it may be valid because the objective is to protect the state, Your Honor, to act for and in the to act uh, to favor the welfare of the citizenry, Your Honor.
In what
So
way? In what way will it protect the general welfare of the citizenry?
because of the pandemic, Your Honor, I don't know, but it has to be established yet by science, Your Honor, if these colored people are more susceptible to the virus or not. But I would say that maybe that was what was in the mind of President Macron. Or
You-
sometimes the colored people are more identified with being uh, predisposed into committing violence, Your Honor. That is why, Your Honor, whenever, for example, if I were in the States, Your Honor, I try to distance myself away from the black people, Your Honor, especially when I'm when I'm going to ride the train, because they have been identified, Your Honor, as they would just
Are you
push
a
you, Your Honor.
racist? Are you a racist, Judge?
Not really, Your Honor, except that we are talking about profiling, Your Honor. So they have been identified as more capable of doing such actions, Your Honor.
All right. My last two questions is you're also applying in the Court of Tax Appeals, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is a jeopardy assessment, Judge?
I have no idea
Can you make an
to be
educated guess? A jeopardy assessment.
um, maybe it is a kind of assessment that uh, that would be against a particular person, Your Honor.
Of course, if it's an assessment, it's against the taxpayer, okay?
Yes,
So
Your
why do you
Honor.
call it jeopardy? Why do you call it a jeopardy assessment?
Uh, I still have to study it further, Your Honor.
What about a protested assessment? Oh, that's easier. What is a protested assessment?
Well, if if the say the BIR would make an assessment, Your Honor, which to the mind of the person against whom the assessment was made was unreasonable, then it is only but right for that person to file a protest against the said assessment.
Okay, Judge, thank you very much for your time and good luck.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Justice Tiham. Judge Olivete, the next to interview you is Honorable Judge Toribio E. Ilaw Jr.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Attorney Yan. Yes, good morning, Attorney Judge Olivete. All right. Well, we meet again. How are you today?
I am okay, Your Honor. A little
Can you
bit,
hear?
a little
A little
bit,
bit what?
Your Honor. I don't know if you can hear me well, Your Honor.
Yes, now I can hear you well. No. Can you hear me well also?
Yes, Your Honor.
Having a problem with your internet? You using the second device?
Yes, Your Honor. I was forced to use the second device because the main computer that I have malfunctioned, Your Honor, and we were pressed for time because of the interview was already ongoing. So I have decided to just use the second device, Your Honor. The main computer, Your Honor, is in my table. If you can see it, Your Honor.
Okay.
It's not working.
What model is that? You're not provided by the City of Taguig, new computer, even the Supreme Court.
It's a personal computer of mine, Your Honor. I bought it, Your Honor. It is a new one, actually, because of the video
Made in
conference.
China. Baka made in China yan.
But the brand is Dell, Your Honor. DELL.
Never heard. All right.
This is the computer that I use during video conferencing.
Okay. So use it particularly during video conferencing.
Yes, Your
We
Honor.
had previously interviewed you extensively and exhaustively for Court of Tax Appeals on March 14, 2019. And you said you were not fortunate to be shortlisted.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have an idea why you were not shortlisted last time?
I do not know, Your Honor, but maybe I was not able to pray harder. Maybe I will go to church this time, morning and evening.
Church. What's your religion, by the way? That's your church.
I used to belong, Your Honor, to be honest. I used to belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay.
But because of the Church Commission Fellowship, Your Honor, to which church my wife belongs, I have to follow my wife more often. Except that the CCF is not holding sessions or worship meetings nowadays because of the pandemic.
So that last year was for consideration as an associate justice of the Court of Tax Appeals. At present, you are applying for all the appellate courts.
Yes, Your Honor. Hopefully, I can get the nod of the Judiciary Bar Council.
So, if given the chance, which court would you choose and why? What's your preferred?
Court of Tax Appeals, Your Honor, is closer to my home. But
Why?
I would be I would not mind if I will be shortlisted in the CA or in the Sandigan Bayan, Your Honor. What I am after, Your Honor, is professional fulfillment, so to speak, Your Honor, because I am no longer a spring chicken, so to speak. Maybe I am already I am turning 65, Your Honor, and I hope that I can bow out of the judiciary uh, as an associate justice, Your Honor.
Let's go to your application letter. And you stated that, and I quote, you have been discharging the duties and functions of your office with competence, diligence, integrity, utmost dedication, and with due regard for your office as a public trust. What were your measures for making this conclusion?
I would say, Your Honor, that I have been with the judiciary since 2003, Your Honor, up to the present. And uh, I have yet to be subjected to an administrative complaint, Your Honor, where I would be investigated by the office of the court administrator, Your Honor, regarding a particular wrongdoing. My decisions, Your Honor, very seldom, especially in my decisions in the regional trial court, Your Honor. I have not received any complaint, Your Honor, assailing my decision as being incorrect. Perhaps only the Court of Appeals, Your Honor, which it is its duty anyway to reverse my decision, Your Honor, or to affirm the same. Insofar as my relationship with my staff is concerned, my relationship with them is okay. My relationship with my fellow judges also. Uh, we have a very good relationship among judges in Taguig City, Your Honor, including its employees. And as executive judge, Your Honor, I deal as well with the security guards and those cleaning the Hall of Justice, Your Honor.
All right, I will not go further or belabor on your administrative cases allegedly not disclosed in your PDS as well as your SALN. But I'm just take a look on your PDS with respect to significant cases handled in the past years. You stated 3 cases, People versus Vastin, and second, People versus Elisa Tinga et al. And the last one is People versus Joel Tinga. What are the last two? What are these? What are the nature of these cases? People versus Tingas. Any relation to the former?
According to the police, Your Honor, they belong to a particular syndicate, Your Honor, operating in the city of Taguig. So they were apprehended and eventually tried in my court, Your Honor. The evidence of the prosecution in those cases are were convincing, Your Honor, which led me to render a judgment of conviction. But lamentably, Your Honor, despite my dissertation regarding their criminal liability, the case of Elisa Tinga was dismissed by the Court of Appeals. In the case of Bastin, Your Honor, the two other accused in that case have been acquitted already. But I was sustained by the Court of Appeals insofar as Bastin is concerned.
about the other case, People versus Joel Tinga?
It is a case of the PDEA as well, Your Honor, as he's an associate. He belongs to the syndicate, Your Honor, where Elisa Tinga, dubbed as the queen of illegal drugs in Taguig City. This Joel Tinga was associated.
All right, from your experience, what do you think is the root cause that has thrived the illegal trade in the country?
It's the prospect of earning money in a fast way, Your Honor. That is one reason. It thrives because there are many people who have been hooked into illegal drugs, Your Honor. That's why, Your Honor, it was no surprise, Your Honor, that the platform of our President Rodrigo Duterte was anchored on illegal drugs, Your Honor, because of the fact that illegal drugs, there are so much illegal drugs in the streets of our country.
And how do we, or you in particular, effectively address it in line with law and jurisprudence?
Yes, Your Honor. My decisions are always supported with jurisprudence, Your Honor. After finding, Your Honor, the testimonies of the police officers to be convincing. Not only their testimonies, Your Honor, it would likewise include the formalities that the police have to observe in the investigation and eventual prosecution of the accused. I'm talking about the requirement provided under Section 21 of RA 9165. So in my decisions, Your Honor, the inventory, the witnesses to the inventory has at least 2 witnesses, Your Honor, which is the requirement of the law.
All right, let's switch to another subject. The current event. What are your thoughts on the recent deaths of judges and lawyers?
It's really unfortunate, Your Honor, for judges and lawyers to be killed, Your Honor. Lawyers and judges are not combatants, Your Honor. They serve a noble purpose, and that is to protect the rights of the oppressed. I find no reason, Your Honor, to kill, even to have that intention to kill judges and lawyers, Your Honor.
And what do you think could be done by different groups to help address this issue and thereby give some meaning to their deaths?
I would appeal, Your Honor, to our police and the military, Your Honor, that I hope that they will exert more efforts leading to the speedy arrest of the perpetrators, Your Honor, so that they could be brought in the bar of justice and to be penalized if the evidence would so warrant.
Did you prefer to be an associate justice of the Court of Appeals, claiming that that is close to your home? All right. Are national internal revenue taxes similar to national taxes?
The national the taxes that are indicated in the National Internal Revenue Code are taxes that could be collected, Your Honor, around the country. Aside from the taxes that are collectible under the provisions of the National Internal Revenue Code, we have likewise the Customs and Tariff Code, Your Honor. Apart from the taxes that may be collected by the barangay, called local taxes, Your Honor, including the city and the provinces, Your Honor.
Which is more broader in scope?
I would say the taxes that are collectible under the National Internal Revenue Code.
Areta, kindly enumerate the sources of revenue under the National Internal Revenue Code.
I would say, Your Honor, the income, Your Honor, of employees, they are taxable, Your Honor, from except the lowly paid employees, wherein it was declared exempt up to 250,000 pesos. So, with regard to those employees who are receiving more than 250,000 pesos, they are obligated to pay income taxes. There is also the business taxes, Your Honor. Donor taxes, Your Honor. Excise taxes that may be exacted on cigarettes, soft drinks, and liquors. They are just but several of the taxes that are collectible pursuant to the National Internal Revenue Code, Your Honor. Apart from those taxes that may be collected in the piers which are covered by the Tariff and Customs Code.
Arat, my last two questions. What are your important realizations during this pandemic?
It brought to my mind, Your Honor, our sense of mortality, Your Honor. That this virus really could kill people. I found lamentable also, Your Honor, those who has less in life, those who became unemployed, people also learn to become self-reliant, Your Honor. The prayer, likewise, Your Honor, becomes an important thing that made people realize, Your Honor, during this pandemic. Self-protection from this virus. The people learn to protect themselves because of the deadly nature of the virus.
All right, my last question, my friend. What does impossible mean to you?
Impossible, Your Honor. It means that there is no solution to it, Your Honor. It cannot be done. But if we will view it scripturally, Your Honor, they say that there is no impossible with God.
All right, that was my last and final question. Thank you for
Thank you
your
very
time
much.
and good luck again.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Thank you too.
Thank you so much, Honorable Judge Ilaw. The last to interview Judge Olivete is Honorable Justice Jose Catrell Mendoza.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Judge. I have heard your answers to the questions of my colleagues. So I will just be brief. I will start with your. I will no longer ask you about preliminaries because You were asked of them already. I just want to ask you about what you wrote. Number 6, the media had somehow abused its privilege, granting that it did cut off the speech of the president. Even if the president of the U.S. has the right to be heard, no matter how shallow and insignificant the message he was giving the American public, I believe his right to freely express his sentiment under the U.S. Constitution. Okay? In the context of Philippine laws, Philippine settings, our president, his language. Will you still say that media is violating his freedom of speech if they cut him off?
I would. Yes, Your Honor. I will maintain the same answer, Your Honor.
The same answer, because the media is a private. There are stations, but there are more private stations, and they have the right to choose whom to show in their television or quote in their radio, because it's up to them. They have the discretion whom to cover and not whom to cover, diba?
Yes, Your Honor. But the message of the President, Your Honor, is the media is always attracted to it, Your Honor.
Yes, but you cannot compel them, and they can even cut off their coverage of the president while he's making a speech. It is their right of the press, freedom of the press.
They can do it, Your Honor. To be candid, Your Honor, the media can do it, Your Honor.
I can do it.
They want
you viewed this in the context of the right of the president to the freedom of expression.
the president has the right to express whatever he
Yes,
wants.
that is correct. But the media is not curtailing it or violating it, is it? When they do not want to cover it.
No, Your Honor. The media is a private enterprise, Your Honor.
Yes, so they have the right. You mentioned freedom of expression. What are the essential elements of the freedom of expression?
As to the elements, Your Honor,
Yes, essential elements. Only dalawa lang naman, only 2. Sige, we are running out of time, so I'll give you one. Hear it. One is freedom from prior restraint. What is the other one?
I have not studied that yet, Your Honor.
You forgot already. You studied it already, but you forgot. How
Yes,
about the restraints or the limitations of the freedom of speech? There are only 2 also.
The state, Your Honor, can put restraints, Your Honor, on the freedom of expression. That's why the MTRCB, Your Honor, which is a form.
Is that not prior restraint?
Yes, Your Honor, it is a form of prior restraint because a show, before it is shown, has to pass through and get the approval of the MTRCB. But with regard to speeches that are made in the streets, that is where I can see the problem. Because
so what are the 2 general limitations then? You have been covering the 2 in your statement. Anyway, you might have forgotten also, no? It is the content-based restraint, and then the content-neutral restraints.
Yes, Your Honor.
You remember what is content neutral restraint?
Maybe it is what the network would show in the just like in a recent news, Your Honor, the GMA was attacked over the pre-content that it is showing, which to the mind of the writer was violative of the owner of the content.
I see. So content based, I'm asking the content neutral. Anyway, content neutral refers to those restriction limitations imposed as to time, place, like asking for a mayor's permit that you will hold a rally at this place and at that time. Yun yung mga content neutral regulation. What are content-based regulation then? Very easy na yan para sa o limitations. Yung mga libel, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oo.
One cannot say something that is defamatory to the honor of a particular person, Your Honor. Even if it is true, I think the restriction still applies, especially when it is malicious.
Yes.
It becomes
you can express it, but you can be charged for it, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Oh. The right to travel. You remember the right to travel? The case of Senator De Lima when he was Secretary of Justice. Right to travel.
Yes, what I know with right to travel is we can go.
What is the rule? What is the exception?
In the case of the pandemic, Your Honor, one cannot just travel nowadays.
Yes.
One has to submit himself to...
That is one of the exceptions.
Swab test.
General rule is that you can...
We can travel.
Yes, and one of them is what you have mentioned is public health. What else? Public security, right?
Yes, on public security.
Do you remember the statutory limitations of the right to travel? There are about 6. Just give me 3. For example, the Passport Act.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right.
Nowadays,
Act.
was saying one cannot just travel without showing to the checkpoint a travel authority.
Yes.
And the fact that you are negative from the virus.
That is covered by what? What?
I don't know.
Bayanihan. Anyway, or the authority given to the president. Okay.
Yes,
you're applying in the CTA and the Court of Appeals. What are the 3, in the Court of Appeals, you review the decisions brought before it just by the records. No more hearing, no more. But there are 3 instances when the Court of Appeals is allowed, or the parties are allowed to present evidence. What are those instances? Of course, in all cases, the Court of Appeals has discretion. But what are those 3 instances expressly mentioned in the Court of Appeals?
I do not know if I remember right, Your Honor. But I think one is the newly discovered evidence.
Yes, you hit 2 already. In civil cases where this newly discovered evidence, yes, criminal cases where there. What are the other 2?
I do not remember the other two, Your Honor. But what I'm sure about is the
you're
Court
sure.
of Appeals may receive evidence, Your Honor.
Yes.
And
Number one is where it exercises original jurisdiction.
yes,
Okay.
Your Honor. In the case of
Not necessarily exclusive, and also where they need to allow the presentation of evidence to prove damages in case of provisional remedies.
yes, Your Honor.
Anyway, you will learn them when you are appointed. Sa Court of Appeals. So we go to the CTA. You're applying also in the CTA. What is the mode of appeal from the CTA, a decision of the CTA division to the CTA and back?
Would it be petition for review, Your Honor?
Are you asking me? I will say yes.
There are exclusive appeals, Your Honor, the original jurisdiction.
Yes.
Even that appeal, Your Honor, from the trial
No,
court.
there are two petitions for review.
Things.
There are two petitions for review. One is under Rule 42 and one is under Rule 43. When is it under Rule 42 and when is it under Rule 43? In the CTA. In the CTA.
I have not reviewed, Your Honor, the rules in the CTA. What I can remember is the petition for review on certiorari and appeal on certiorari under Rule 45 and Rule 65, Your Honor. But so far as that rules in the CTA, I have yet to see
42 and 43.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, sige. Hindi Sandigan Bayan, the general mode of procurement, most of the cases in the Sandigan Bayan are violations of the procurement law, about 30% or more. The general mode of procurement is public bidding, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, can you give me at least 3 exceptions to the rule on public bidding?
I can only make a guess, Your Honor.
Okay, yes.
Maybe if it would involve the government, Your Honor.
Ay, government, lalo na talagang strict on bidding. Sa private, wala pa kang bidding kung minsan, nasa sa private.
And the need to have it, the need is urgent, Your Honor. That
not all. There are what are the requirements kung urgent? You do away with public bidding.
Maybe there is a certification, Your Honor, of urgency.
Kung yun lang, you can do away with public bidding. Now, what are the requisites? The exceptions are limited source bidding, direct contracting, repeat order, shopping, negotiated procurement. With respect to negotiated procurement, what are the requisites or the conditions negotiated when you are allowed to resort to negotiated procurement instead of bidding?
I have no idea, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Have no idea. Okay lang. Parang I heard you earlier on religious freedom. What is the policy of the state regarding religion? What is the theory? It's mentioned in Escritor versus Estrada.
every person, it is the inherent right of every person to.
Yes, correct. What is the policy of the government or the courts towards the exercise of religion?
Maybe the
What
state
is
can
the theory? What is the theory?
the state can only regulate it, but
Yes.
cannot
Uh,
forbid it from.
mm,
Cannot forbid the people from exercising their right
okay.
to.
What is the theory I'm asking is, you're correct there, but the theory I'm asking is the benevolent neutrality theory or policy. Have you heard of it?
Ano, Your Honor?
Now, there are cause called this public security, public health. You lump this together, what do you call them? What do the courts call them? This is a limitation on the uh, exercise of religion.
Would
What
it
do you
be
call them?
exercise of police
Yeah,
power?
the limitation,
Yes, Your
not
Honor.
necessarily police power, but what do you call them if you lump them together? Okay, running out of time, Judge. Anyway, you just
I don't know, Your Honor. I don't know.
compelling state interest. Yun.
Compelling church state.
State interest. Those, yun ang
State.
limitation ng exercise of religion where the state can come in and impose restrictions.
In the same
Now,
way,
I heard you have changed religion. Not really. You just attend another church.
yes, Your Honor.
Suppose this is, for example, X is married. He wants to contract another marriage. So what he did was to change religion to Muslim. So while the first marriage was existing, or he contracted a second marriage, can he be charged for bigamy?
I have heard for a fact, Your Honor, that Freddy Aguilar, a well-known singer, Your Honor, just so he could marry the 16-year-old, his 16-year-old girlfriend, Your Honor. He allowed himself. He made him. He embraced the Muslim faith, Your Honor.
Yes.
And
Anyway, this is an issue raised in the U.S. Supreme Court and already decided, and it's also an issue asked by Father Bernas in his book. Can you, if after the conversion, during the trial, can the court inquire into the sincerity of the conversion?
yes, Your Honor, I believe so. So
That
that
you can
the court be
inquire.
guided in its dissertation of I don't know, sir, if you can still hear
Yeah,
me.
okay. Okay, I'm just asking an opinion. Even Father Bernas was asking that.
The judge.
But in the U.S., U.S. versus Ballard, the U.S. Supreme Court said that the courts cannot inquire into the sincerity of the conversion. No. Anyway, Judge, thank you very much. That will be all. There will be another interview. Your excuse.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck, Judge.
Thank you po. May we all have a safe Christmas.
Okay.
Thank you po.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Honor, Justice Mendoza. That concludes the public panel interview of Honorable Judge Antonio M. Olivete. Thank you very much and Godspeed, Judge Olivete.
Thank you.
Attorney Leia? Okay. Your Honors, we have with us here Honorable Jose Marie A. Kimboy, the presiding judge of the Regional Trial Court Branch 94, Mariveles, Bataan. He is vying for the position of Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals. Good morning, Your Honor. Judge Olivete. The first to ask you questions is Honorable Judge Franklin J. de Monteverde.
Thank you, Attorney Ann.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
Okay, good morning, Judge Kimboy.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Yeah, you are now applying for a seat in only at the Court of Appeals.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. If I remember correctly, we interviewed you last year. You applied also for the appellate court.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, since your last interview, has there been any changes in your PDS that you would include or in your credentials?
Yes, Your Honor. If I may, I
Yes,
like
go ahead.
to include the decisions or dispositions which were affirmed in toto by the Court of Appeals. For instance, the order which I rendered denying the petition for bail regarding the alleged violation of Section 11 of RA 9165, Your Honor. The order which denied this petition was elevated to the Court of Appeals.
Yep.
And with all due respect, Your Honor, I would like to state that my order was affirmed in toto by the Court of Appeals. There were other decisions which I rendered that were likewise affirmed in toto by the appellate court, such as a petition which I dismissed because there was no sufficient evidence to warrant the grant of the petition regarding the declaration of nullity of marriage based on the lack of authority of the solemnizing officer, Your Honor.
Okay, Judge. Now, Judge, you are presiding over at Branch 94 in Mariveles, Bataan.
Yes, Your Honor.
And for how long have you been there?
Your Honor, I have served as presiding judge of this court for more than 6 years. I was appointed in 2014 and immediately commenced the performance of my duties as presiding judge up to the present, Your Honor.
But as a lawyer, how long have you been as such?
Your Honor, I was admitted to the Philippine Bar in 1997. So before I was appointed as a regional trial court judge, I had been engaged in the practice of law for more than 15 years, around 17 years, Your Honor.
What rating did you get at the bar exams?
Your Honor, I obtained 81.80 in the 1996 bar examinations.
Aside from your bar exams, you also took the pre-judicature program and passed it?
Yes, Your Honor, I took up the pre-judicature program sponsored by the Supreme Court and the Philippine Judicial Academy and obtained a rating of 83.30% in the comprehensive examination, Your Honor.
Okay. In your letter intent, Judge, you mentioned that you authored a legal commentary on compensation cases.
Yes,
Tell us about this.
Yes, Your Honor, because before my appointment to the judiciary, I was a legal officer or lawyer of the Land Bank of the Philippines, specifically at the CARP Legal Services Department, where we handled petitions for review for filing with the Court of Appeals and petition for review on certiorari under Rule 45 with the Supreme Court, and we had the opportunity to handle just compensation cases. In this legal commentary, Your Honor, I dissected the rulings of the Supreme Court on the just compensation cases which were rendered by the High Court, because there were divergent views, Your Honor, regarding the date of taking as far as agricultural lands is concerned. For instance, there is a Supreme Court ruling mandating that the date of taking is from issuance of the emancipation patent or the certificate of land ownership award. There are also rulings mandating that the date of taking should be at the time of rendition of the judgment made by the court, Your Honor.
Okay, Judge. Now, had your commentary been published?
Yes, Your Honor. It was first published in the Lawyer's Review, and I updated the same and was published in the Supreme Court Reports annotated volume 676, Your Honor.
Now, going to your medical record, you were certified to be physically fit to perform your functions.
Yes, Your Honor.
But your medical record shows certain areas of concern, no? Such as in your urinalysis, which shows you have a 1+ protein. Then there was a trace of ketones and 1+. Now, aside from this, Judge, are you ischemic?
Your Honor.
Ischemic, you know what ischemic is?
I think
it concerns the heart. It's a slit, a crack in the heart, ischemia.
I'm not aware of anything on that matter, Your Honor. I feel perfectly fit, Your Honor.
Ganun ba? Pero you talk this over with your physician, no?
Yes,
Kasi may mga ischemic changes ka over inferior walls eh. Kasi this caught my attention because my father, at the age of 60+, he had a certain crack sa heart kanya, ischemia. And then because of his diabetes, it deteriorated to such an extent, it developed a complication, which led to his passing away.
I will consult a specialist, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
You do that. Okay. Now, your latest seminar, as listed in your PDS, was in 2018. But in 2017, you only attended 2 seminars. Don't you often attend seminars conducted by the PhilJA, especially on seminars and workshops for judges?
Your Honors, I always attend these seminars offered to presiding judges. In fact, I had undergone a webinar, but I wasn't able to list this down because upon the submission of my personal data sheet, the webinar has not been.
So webinar, you attended a webinar.
Yes,
is one of those activities that you attended after you passed the PDS.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Regarding the updates on the rules of court, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, but with your 6 years in the judiciary, you voluntarily inhibited from hearing 15 cases. Is this correct, Judge?
Yes, Your Honor. I listed down those cases in which I voluntarily inhibited.
Okay. What were the reasons for the inhibitions?
Your Honor, I wanted to preserve the appearance of impartiality of the court. Although in these orders which I issued, I made it a point that there is no valid ground for my inhibition. However, in order to preserve the appearance of impartiality of the court, I voluntarily inhibited from further handling the case.
Were there other reasons for it, for your inhibition from hearing
This
the
was
case?
the sole criterion that I use, Your Honor, in order to refrain from handling these cases.
Okay, Judge. Now, the House of Representatives recently passed a bill raising the age of sexual consent and threshold for determining statutory rape from 12 to 16 years old. The Philippines has the lowest age of sexual consent in Asia and one of the lowest in the world. Do you think that now is the right time for this kind of law?
Yes, Your Honor. I think this is the perfect time to increase the age from 12 to 16, Your Honor.
Elucidate on it.
Your Honor.
Elucidate, explain why you think this the right time.
Yes, Your Honor, because in the case of a minor who is only 12 years old, the minor cannot intelligently take into consideration these matters, is unable to fully understand this matter governing sexual conduct. Now, if this age of consent is increased from 12 to 16 years of age, the person involved, especially a minor girl, for instance, will be able to fully comprehend or understand the implications arising from this conduct. That's why I am in favor of increasing this age of consent from 12 to 16 years of age, which is now being deliberated upon by the House of Representatives, Your Honor.
Now, just the work of judges is definitely stressful. Given that as predicate, what has been the most stressful situation that you have ever found yourself in at work?
Your Honor,
if any.
Well, of course, I fully agree with the statement of Judge de Monteverde that indeed the work of
I am Judge de Monteverde.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh.
That the job of presiding judge is stressful, and the requirement by the High Court regarding continuous trial is stressful because especially regarding drug cases, because there is a definite period within which trial shall be commenced and then concluded, and thereafter the rendition of judgment shall be made within 15 days from the time the case is submitted for decision. However,
so how did you handle it, Judge? How did you handle it?
However, Your Honor, we handled this under appropriate circumstances. I required my stenographers to submit in advance the transcript of a stenographic note so that this can be examined, assessed, and of course, the decision regarding these drug cases is given appropriate consideration and priority, Your Honor. This is how I cope with the challenges in so far as the continuous trial is concerned, Your Honor.
On the contrary, what is the least stressful work of a judge?
Probably, Your Honor, the solemnization of marriage.
You are specialized on that?
No, Your Honor, it is on a raffle.
Specialist? You are a specialist on that, huh?
I think that's the least stressful, Your Honor.
Okay, my last question, Judge.
Yes, Your Honor.
Upon receipt by the CA of a petition under Rule 42, what procedures are to be observed by it?
Upon receipt by
the CA.
yes, Your Honor.
There are procedures being undertaken by the CA. One, I'll give you a hint. One, the CA may require the respondent to file a comment
Yes, Your Honor.
on the petition. So, ano pa?
Well, Your Honor, if the petition is not sufficient in form and substance, it may be dismissed outright by the Court of Appeals. For instance, if the petition for review does not state the material dates upon which the appellate court can determine if the petition is indeed seasonably filed or filed within the reglementary period. So if there is no indication whatsoever in the petition that this petition was indeed timely filed, then the Court of Appeals has the option to dismiss the petition outright. However, if this petition appears to be sufficient in form and substance, then a resolution may be issued by the Court of Appeals requiring the other party to file a comment thereon, but not a motion to dismiss, Your Honor.
Okay, and if the petition is given due course, what does the CA do?
After the Court of Appeals has determined that
there is probable prima facie case.
Yes, Your Honor. It will require the parties to simultaneously file memoranda in amplification of their respective arguments, Your Honor. Thereafter, the case will be considered submitted for decision.
Okay, Judge, that was my last question. Good luck. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Honorable Justice Monteverde.
Thank you, Attorney.
Judge Kimboy next is Honorable Justice Noel Jimenez Tihan.
Thank you, Attorney Ann. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Your Honor.
I'm not very happy with the number of cases from which you inhibited, and the common reason is to preserve the impartiality of the court. You mentioned that in the order, you expressly stated that there is no valid legal reason for inhibition, and yet you inhibited. Is that not the case of ambivalence?
With all due respect, Your Honor, it is not. Because the primordial concern of the presiding judge is to preserve the appearance of impartiality of the court. Although there is no factual basis for such request or motion for inhibition, I had decided to inhibit or refrain from further handling these cases because if I render a judgment on these cases, Your Honor, the party seeking my inhibition will discredit the judgment I had rendered. So the purpose, Your Honor.
Are you afraid of that? Are you, as a judge, are you supposed to avoid offending the feelings of litigants and lawyers? Is that your impression?
No, Your Honor.
You don't want people to feel offended? You don't want litigants to get angry at the judge? Is that what you're saying?
No, Your Honor. Definitely, I will render judgment against a party.
If you are appointed to the Court of Appeals, will you be doing the same things?
Not anymore, Your Honor, because there is a directive from the Supreme Court that the inhibition should not be made by the presiding judge or by any magistrate of the Court of Appeals, Your Honor. And
because you have been in the trial court for 6 years, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And in that period of 6 years, you inhibited in more than 10 cases for the sole reason that the parties ask you to inhibit. For the sole reason that the parties are asking you to inhibit because they're saying you're not competent to handle the case, you're not fair, you're not impartial to handle the case. And so you inhibited by telling them those are not true. But nonetheless, I am inhibiting. So what do you think is the impression? Do you suddenly become impartial? Do you suddenly become competent to handle the case after you inhibited?
With all due respect, Your Honor, these cases represent a very minimal number of cases insofar as the cases that I have decided, Your Honor. Probably by a rough estimate.
You're supposed to decide cases without fear, without favor. That's the mandate. That's the mandate of a judge. I am speaking from personal experience because when I was in the Court of Appeals, I handled a criminal case on appeal after 16 justices of the Court of Appeals inhibited. I participated in that decision. And when the motion for reconsideration was filed, the ponente of the division inhibited. And I inherited that and I decided the MR. You're supposed to decide cases without fear or favor. You should not be. Are you easily cowed? Are you easily influenced, pressured by parties and lawyers?
No, Your Honor. On the contrary,
Should
I
not be. More so if you're going to the appellate court, you cannot be onion skinned. So long as you feel that you are impartial, so long as you feel you are fair, you're not supposed to take into account the wounded feelings of those who will lose. When you decide a case, judge, there are those who will win and those who will lose, correct?
yes,
So
Your Honor.
the winning party will praise you to high heavens, but the losing party will curse you to be incompetent. But it doesn't matter. So long as you decide the case according to the evidence, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So I hope you desist from inhibiting if you reach the appellate court.
I have desisted, Your Honor, in view of the directive of the Supreme Court.
So if there was no directive, you will not desist. All right. Judge, can you tell me what is the Good Samaritan at sea doctrine in maritime cases? If you do not remember, you can make an educated guess. Good
Yes, Your Honor.
Samaritan at sea doctrine.
Well, I suppose, Your Honor, this refers to a ship that aids another ship that is in danger of capsizing, Your Honor. Based on the term Good Samaritan, it refers to a ship that provides succor or support to another ship that is in distress, especially during storms or other calamities, Your Honor. That is what I understand about the term, Your Honor.
That's correct. Now, can you think of an exception to that doctrine?
Well, Your Honor, if the other ship is the ship of an enemy of the state, of course, the Philippine ship will not lend support or support to this ship in distress, because that would be tantamount to aiding the enemy, Your Honor.
You're saying that an enemy vessel, even if on distress, you're not obligated under international law to rescue, to give assistance to a vessel in distress, and instead you should sink it. Is that what is that what you're saying?
I'm referring to, for instance, Your Honor, another warship that is owned by the enemy of the Philippines, for instance, Your Honor.
All
So
right.
if the Philippine ship will lend support to this warship that belongs to the enemy of the Philippine state, that will be equivalent to lending support to the enemy of the state.
And that
So,
is a crime. That is a crime aiding the enemy. Is that what you're saying?
yes, under the
So if the
regulation of-
enemy vessel sinks and there are survivors, you're supposed to as well kill all of the survivors because they're enemies. Is that what you're saying?
well, if these are not combatants, Your Honor, they may not be killed, of course, Your Honor. But if these persons on board this warship are considered combatants who will prejudice national interest, then the proper course of action shall be taken, Your Honor.
All right, Judge. Let's go to another topic. What is red tagging? Is there such a word as red tagging? What is red tagging?
Yes, Your Honor, this has been...
Who invented that word?
Well, I have read this in the papers or periodicals, Your Honor, and based on how this term is used, red tagging pertains to the act of tagging a group or a particular person who is connected with the Communist Party of the Philippines, headed by Joe Masiso.
In your opinion, is it a crime?
I suppose, Your Honor, there is no law penalizing this act of red tagging.
So if there is no law,
then
is it a crime?
It is not a crime, Your Honor, because it merely pertains to the expression of a person's opinion that a particular person or group is connected with the Communist Party of the Philippines or is a supporter of the Communist Party of the Philippines. So
should it be made a crime, in your opinion?
Your Honor, I don't think there should be any ground for making this act an offense under a special penal law, because if a person expresses his opinion that this group or person is connected with the Communist Party of the Philippines, that is a mere expression of his opinion, which is protected by the freedom of speech guaranteed by the Bill of Rights, Your Honor.
So it's a protected. So when the communists call the president a dictator, a fascist dictator, is that also permissible? That's not also a crime.
Yes, Your Honor, because that is a mere expression of a person's view or opinion. But of course, we know that the incumbent president is not. Because if a president is considered a dictator or someone who exercises extraordinary power, that must be allowed under the fundamental law or the Constitution. But
that's also protected speech. That's also protected speech.
I believe so, Your Honor. It is protected by the Bill of Rights.
But the CPP-NPA is listed as a terror organization under international law. And it is also listed, I suppose, in the list, in the implementing rules and regulations issued by the Department of Justice implementing the anti-terror law. So it's a terrorist organization. So if you tag somebody as belonging to a terrorist organization, is that not still a crime?
Well, Your Honor, it depends upon the evidence that will be presented. Because there are acts which are considered punishable under this law. So if this act qualifies as something punishable under the anti-terrorist law, then it will be considered an offense, Your Honor.
No, we're not talking of the anti-terrorist law. I'm talking of the tagging of a person as belonging to a terrorist organization. Supposing a person is tagged as belonging to the CPP-NPA, a terrorist organization, and the imputation is false, is it actionable?
I think so, Your Honor, under our revised penal code.
Supposing the imputation is true, is that a defense?
Yes, Your Honor, the truth is a defense.
Now, the Bakabayan Bloc, a group of members of Congress in the lower house, were allegedly identified as members or sympathizers of the CPP-NPA. Do they have grounds to file suit against government agents making that imputation?
I think there is no ground for them to file this.
Why not? Why?
Against agents of the state, because before these agents of the state make these pronouncements, they have factual basis in.
So the burden of proof, the burden of proof is with whom? So the Makabayan Bloc filed an action against government authorities. So the burden of proof is with whom? With the petitioners, the Makabayan Bloc, or with the government agents?
Upon the petitioners, Your Honor, the accusers, the alleged accusers, since they are alleging that.
So what are they supposed to prove? That they are not communists? How do they prove that?
Well, of course, they will present evidence, Your Honor, that they are not connected with this Communist Party of the Philippines. But
they'll have to get the certification from Joma Season that they're not members.
But based on what they have said so far, Your Honor, they refuse to condemn these acts of the Communist Party of the Philippines.
Okay, my last question, Judge, is you were a former legal manager, bank lawyer of the Land Bank of the Philippines.
Yes, Your Honor.
What are the safeguards before a bank inquiry order is issued under Section 11 of the AMLA? Do you still recall? What are the safeguards before issuing a bank inquiry order?
Your Honor, we handled the just compensation cases at the CARP Legal Services Department. However, if I may render my opinion on this matter.
You should. I'm just interested in your opinion.
Yes, Your Honor. There must be a suspicious transaction, Your Honor. For instance, if the transaction does not fully identify the depositor of a big amount, for instance, exceeding 500,000 pesos, or there is no basis why this amount will be earned by this particular person or entity. This will indicate that an inquiry by the bank should be made, because there is a big possibility that money laundering is being committed, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Judge, for your time, and good luck.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Justice Tiham. The next to propon questions to Judge Kimboy is Honorable Judge Toribio E. Ilaw Jr.
Thank you, Tony Yan.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
Tony Yan, dyan ka uli, Yes, thank you. Yes, good morning, Judge Kimboy. Jose Marie Arsadon Kimboy. Arsadon, are you related to a certain attorney Edilberto Arsadon, an alumnus of Sambeda?
Your Honor, I do not know him personally. I remember a Lamberto Alsadon, who is also a lawyer, the cousin of my mother, Your Honor.
Lamberto. Yeah. From what province did he come from?
He's from Dagupan, Your Honor, from Pangasinan.
Dagupan. Kaya pala not necessarily amoy bangus. Alright, Kimboy, in relation to Kimbo of Marikina.
No relation whatsoever, Your Honor.
Kasi why? Kasi Kimboy lang yan. At any rate, how are you? Who had previously interviewed you for Court of Appeals last October 29, 2019.
Yes, Your Honor.
And, were you shortlisted at that time?
I was not shortlisted at the time, Your Honor. That's why I applied again for the position of the Court of Appeals, Your Honor.
And you had been the land bank attorney for 11 years, private practice for 2 years. With what law offices?
Vera Santos and Renan Law Offices, Your Honor.
What was the first name of this attorney Rivera?
Jose Salvador Rivera, Your Honor, from Bulacan.
Jose Salvador. Mga Rivera nga pala Bulacan. About Santos, also from Bulacan?
No, Your Honor. Attorney E. Hans Santos is from Cagayan de Oro City.
All right. In your application letter, you stated that you authored a legal commentary on just compensation cases, which was published in the Supreme Court, what's this, CRA, volume 676.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's a Supreme Court reports annotated. What was this all about?
Your Honor, I discussed the rulings of the Supreme Court regarding just compensation cases. Because there were rulings of the High Court that were divergent on the same issue, Your Honor. So I expressed the view that in order to have the same decision on the same issue, the matter shall be decided by the Supreme Court sitting en banc.
Tarata, you also stated in your letter of application that you are a recipient of a Bedan Recognition Award.
That is the case, Your Honor.
Sambeda College of Law.
Yes, Your Honor.
As well as the Alumni Association of Sambeda. Are you an alumnus of Sambeda?
Yes, Your Honor. I studied for 3 years in the Sambeda College of Law, Your Honor. Although I finished my law course in the University of the East.
Why?
Your Honor, I did not obtain the required QPI. That's why I was no longer readmitted in my 4th year in the Sambeda College of Law, Your Honor.
Right. Alright, going over at your SAL ends. In your SAL ends of the assessed and current fair market values of your real properties are either blank or not known. Why is that?
This refers to the lot in Maritime, Pangasinan, Your Honor. I was unable to obtain the value of this land. That's why I left it blank, Your Honor. It is an agricultural land that is not very expensive, Your Honor.
Do you have any estimate? Do you have any idea as to how much even the assessed fair market value now?
I think the assessed value, Your Honor, of this agricultural land is around probably around 200 pesos per square meter.
And what's the area of the said property in Pangasinan?
Less than a hectare, Your Honor.
So you've been a land bank attorney. When is there a DOS3 violation? Do you have any idea of this DOS3?
This refers to loans obtained by directors, officers, stockholders, and related interest, Your Honor. So if a particular threshold is exceeded, then it will be denominated or considered as a DOS3 loan, which is prohibited, Your Honor.
Good. What are deposit substitutes?
Deposit.
For 11 years as a bank lawyer.
Yes, Your Honor, but we handled just compensation cases, Your Honor. CARP Legal Services Department, not the ordinary banking operations, Your Honor. But if I may express my opinion, this
Yes, please.
probably pertains to bonds or anything of value other than cash, Your Honor. Deposit substitutes.
Oh, this is a given question. What are the exceptions to the rule on secrecy of bank deposits under Republic Act number 1405 or the secrecy of bank deposits law?
Your Honor, the general rule, of course, is these deposits are considered secret. However, if there is a court order from a court of competent jurisdiction regarding the amount, then the bank secrecy law will not apply, Your Honor. Or if the depositor himself gave his consent or allowed another entity to have access to his bank deposits, then the secrecy law will not apply, Your Honor.
All right, explain briefly the doctrine of stare decisis.
Yes, Your Honor. The doctrine of stare decisis is when the court of competent jurisdiction involving parties has rendered a judgment on a particular issue, then this judgment, as far as these parties are concerned, must always be upheld, Your Honor. That is the doctrine of stare decisis, Your Honor. Cannot be varied or modified by the court. The court is mandated to adhere to this particular ruling involving these parties on a particular issue, Your Honor.
But do you agree with the Supreme Court as the highest court of the land that it may be guided, but it is not controlled by President? Because this was part of the Supreme Court's ruling in the 2000 case, De Castro versus the Judicial and Bar Council and Macapagal Arroyo, GR number 19002.
Yes, Your Honor. The Supreme Court can always deviate from rulings of the lower courts because it is the final arbiter of all legal questions. So based on this well-established doctrine in our jurisdiction, the High Court can always disregard these rulings rendered by the lower courts, Your Honor.
And you claim to have been a judge for 6 years, am I correct?
More than 6 years, Your Honor.
More than 6 years already. What have you accomplished and what changes have you effected in your position so far?
Yes, Your Honor. I was able to dispose of around 1,800 cases, Your Honor. in a span of less than 5 years. And because of this, the docket has been drastically reduced, Your Honor, from around 1,000, almost 2,000 cases, Your Honor, because in this period, I was able to dispose of around 1,800 cases. Likewise, Your Honor, if there is an opportunity to decide a case within a shorter period, not necessarily consuming the maximum period allowed by the rules or by the Constitution, Your Honor, I humbly decide these cases on a shorter period, Your Honor, in order to comply with the mandate of the High Court that cases should be decided expeditiously, Your Honor.
All right. Do you think you have contributed enough of your talents and skill in that position?
With all due respect,
Just for us.
all modesty, Your Honor, the answer is in the affirmative. I have devoted my time. I have used my God-given talents in order to render judgments without fear of contradiction. And I have evaluated the evidence presented by the parties and has decided the cases as objectively as possible, Your Honor, in order to fairly administer justice to the people.
Could you narrate an instance where a party has attempted to compromise your integrity and how you managed the same? Was there any instance or are there instances?
There was an instance, Your Honor, when I was the acting presiding judge of the Regional Trial Court, Branch 73 in Olongapo City. In addition to my work as presiding judge of RTC Branch 94, Maribeles, Bataan, it was a very subtle suggestion, but of course, I politely stated that if the party is not satisfied with my judgment, then they have every right to elevate the matter to a higher court, specifically the Court of Appeals, Your Honor.
Are you not contemplating in transferring to the RTC and CJR instead of aiming a promotion to the appellate court?
With all due respect, Your Honor, it is my humble submission that it is practically the same, Your Honor, because it is the same court, the same jurisdiction, the same cases to be decided by the court, Your Honor. It will be a change of environment, but practically, Your Honor, it is the same court with the same jurisdiction, Your Honor.
Where do you presently reside, Judge?
I am a resident of Dagupan City, Your Honor, although I also have a house in Quezon City, Your Honor. But during weekdays, I rent an apartment in Balanga City because that's the venue of my court, Your Honor.
Why do you deserve a promotion, Judge?
With all due respect and in all modesty, Your Honor, I have a high disposition rate, Your Honor. From a docket of around 2,000, I was able to dispose of around 1,800 cases, Your Honor. And if given the chance to sit as magistrate in the appellate court, I will be able to more effectively help the people in the administration of justice, Your Honor.
And why should you be chosen over other applicants who are more seniors than you are and have more experiences than you have?
Yes, Your Honor.
How young are you?
54 years old, Your Honor.
54.
Yes, Your Honor. I duly respect, Your Honor, the seniority rule, but in all humility, Your Honor, this is not the only criterion so that an RTC judge may be promoted to the appellate court or the Court of Appeals, Your Honor. The performance of the presiding judge will likewise be considered, Your Honor. And dedication to duty, Your Honor, will also be considered, hopefully, for the promotion of a younger RTC judge, Your Honor.
What can you contribute that no other applicant can?
Your Honor, I am more energetic, with all due respect to senior.
Energetic compared to others?
Yes, Your Honor. And
how sure you are energetic as compared to others?
Well, I can devote more time to the study of cases, the rendition of judgment, hearing of cases, Your Honor, because of my relatively younger age, Your Honor.
How honest are you, Judge?
Well, I am very honest, Your Honor, based on my...
How very, very?
Your Honor, I do not allow any other person to influence my decision or disposition on a particular legal matter. So that if there is any suggestion that I should decide in a particular way, I disregard this and only look at the evidence, Your Honor, and the applicable laws. These are my only basis in deciding a case. I do not listen to the suggestions of other persons, if any, Your Honor.
All right. What one skill makes you the most qualified for the Court of Appeals?
Skill, Your Honor.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to believe that I am able to write decisions which are later on affirmed by the Court of Appeals. There have been many instances, Your Honor, where my judgment or decision was elevated to the Court of Appeals for review, and based on the decisions of the Court of Appeals, my judgments, most of my judgments, Your Honor, have been affirmed in toto.
Seems to be serious, Judge. Could you please tell us a joke? Yan, tumawa ka yan. Sige nga.
Joke, Your Honor. Well, what joke I will be able to share is
any joke?
Well, I am thinking about a tasteful joke, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Lowering down your zipper, which is more problematic.
I remember, Your Honor, when we were in a class in negotiable instruments law.
Okay.
Where our professor is loading attorney Jose Sunjang. When he called a classmate to recite, my classmate was the hands of my classmate were on his two pockets, and this was completely visible to Dean Sunjang. So when my classmate was unable to immediately answer the question
during recitation,
yes, Your Honor, the good then said, "Are you pinching a muscle or a missile?" Which brought the class to laughter, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, my last question. What is happiness?
Well, Your Honor, based on my vocabulary, happiness is something that a person enjoys because his needs or aspirations are realized, Your Honor. That is something that will make a person happy, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. That was my last final question. Thank you. I remember your joke. I heard that also during the time of then Justice Bernie Fernandez. You're holding your guided muscle or guided missile. All right, thank you. Alam mo, tumawa ka rin.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you. And good luck.
Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge Ilaw. Honorable Justice Jose Catrell Mendoza has now the floor. Your Honor, Justice Mendoza, please.
Good morning. Good noon na pala. Judge, we have interviewed you before, and I know your records. I will just start in your answer to the essay questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
You wrote that the discontinuance of the coverage transgress the freedom of speech of the American president. Now, if in the context of the Philippine situation, Philippine law, and our president, will you still maintain this answer of yours, that discontinuance of the coverage transgress the freedom of speech of the president?
Yes, Your Honor. Although the incumbent president, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, has not been subjected to this particular treatment from the media, Your Honor.
And anyway, it's general. But the media, because it's about most of them are private organizations, they have the discretion not to cover the speech of the president. Correct? Do you agree or you do not agree? Or you still maintain your position that it is in violation of the president's freedom of speech?
I still maintain my view or opinion, Your Honor, because the reportage of an event or activity must be made by media as objectively as possible. So when they disallowed the coverage of the speech of the American president, that was an act of partisanship, Your Honor, in favor of the electoral opponent of the incumbent American.
Well, in the context of our laws, is it unconstitutional? Was it violative of the president's freedom of expression?
Yes, Your Honor, that constitutes prior restraint. And prior restraint.
You mean to say a private organization can curtail the freedom of a person or a president?
The private entities cannot do that. Your
Cannot. Oh, that's why I'm referring I referred to the media. I said referring to the private organizations. Oh.
That constitutes prior restraint by a private entity, Your Honor, not by the state.
By a private entity. So, is there a violation if it is a private entity?
Yes, because it violates the.
So the private organization has no discretion. What to cover? What speeches to cover? Can you compel them to cover every event of the president?
But the duty of media, Your Honor, is impressed with the public interest. Since
so they're obliged to cover the speeches of the president, and if they do not cover the speech of the president, it can be said that they violated his freedom of speech.
Your Honor, these media outlets.
You teach constitutional law, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Okay. What are the limitations or restraints in one's
Your Honor,
freedom of speech?
regarding freedom of speech, Your Honor, there are 4 aspects that should be
I'm
considered.
asking only restraint.
Yes, Your Honor.
Main classification. Or you can easily answer that. You teach the subject.
Yes, regarding prior restraint, Your Honor, this bears a heavy presumption of unconstitutionality.
Not prior restraint. I'm not. Those are the essential elements. One of the essential elements. I'm asking the restraints, the 2 major classification of restraints. I'll give you one. You can easily answer the other one because you teach this subject. One is content-based restraint.
Yes.
What is
Yes,
the
Your
other
Honor.
one?
Yes, Your
What is
Honor.
the other one?
Content-based
Restraint. Oh, what is the other one?
The message.
That is the message, the content. What is the other restraint?
It pertains to content-neutral restraint, Your Honor.
Content. Oh, I see. Oh, because you teach this subject, di ba, constitutional law.
Yes, Your Honor.
No, we now go to the essential elements. You mentioned freedom from prior restraint. What is the other element? Essential element.
Freedom from prior restraint, freedom to have access to information, Your Honor.
Siguro nakalimutan mo na, you're hungry. It's freedom from subsequent punishment.
That is another aspect.
That's why I asked 2. There are only 2. Oh, you answered one already. Oh. Now, you also covered the expanded judicial power of review of the president. The decisions of the court in general, what are they? What are under our setup of government? What do they constitute?
Your Honor, the original meaning of judicial review is, or judicial power, is the resolution of legal controversies or justiciable controversies involving parties or
Yes, no, I did not cover that because I was referring to the court decisions. Because we have limited time, I did not ask you about judicial review already. I was asking the nature, what do this constitute the court decisions in the Philippines? Nasa ano yan? Nasa first 10 articles ng Civil Code.
These decisions
interpreting the here what?
These become part of the law of the land once the judgment of the High Court has attained finality.
Oh, they become they form part of the law of the land. They become law. Is that not judicial legislation?
Well, it is not, Your Honor, because
it is not right.
Legislation is the exclusive domain of the legislative department.
Oh, but that according to you, they form part of the law of the land.
Yes, because these are judgments construing the law.
Interpreting the law, right, but they do not become laws of the land. Otherwise, legislation yun. Or you still stick to it that they form part of the law of the land?
Under the Civil Code, Your Honor, this
Yes.
means form part of the law of the land, Your Honor.
I see. What article? Do you remember? No.
Cannot remember the particular article, Your Honor, but I remember it is embodied in the Civil Code of the Philippines, Your Honor.
It's article what? 8 or 9?
Probably 8, Your Honor.
No, Article 8, according to Article 8, I'll read it to you. The
Hindi ako na, makonti lang.
8, Article 8, judicial decisions applying or interpreting the laws or the Constitution shall form part of the legal system of the Philippines. Where does it say that it forms part of the law of the land?
Because these judgments, Your Honor, have the force and effect of law involving
So they become the law of
Part of the
part of the law of the land.
the
So judicial legislation, yun. But maybe you're gutom na, Judge. Siguro nahilo ka na. International laws where the Philippines has signatory form part of the law of the land, but not the decision. Kasi legislation.
Doctrine of incorporation, Your Honor.
Sa international law, nahilo ka na. It's in the Constitution also. You teach that. Maybe you're
Principles of international law, Your Honor.
they become part of the law of the land, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oo, pero yung court decisions,
Legal system.
legal system.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oo, sige. That will be all, Judge. Baka nahihilo ka na, napagpalit-palit mo na. Oo, good noon na lang. Thank you very much. Your excuse, the best of luck.
Thank you, Justice. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much and good luck, Judge Kimboy. Thank you also, Justice Mendoza. That concludes the public panel interview of Honorable Judge Jose Marie A. Kimboy. Your Honors, that wraps up the council session this morning. We shall have a break and resume at